what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it, and we hope you enjoy
Something that we talked about a lot, I believe, I don't even know what day it is. Maybe it was Monday. It was MJ Morris from NC State potentially being somebody that could land here. You did a great job, T-Bob, of breaking him down here in our notes. He has actually, well, I'm giving you some credit. You put it in our rundown here, and that was a potential LSU target. He has committed to Maryland. So that is one of the transfer quarterbacks. Yeah, they're, Tagovailoa is moving on, I think. I mean, he's been in college football for as long. I think he played against you.
I think what you saw at Ole Miss last year, no, Talia did not play against me, but he has been in college football forever. But I think Ole Miss last year, right, where they somehow get Spencer Sanders to come in.
Yeah.
And even Walker Howard, kind of for that matter. That, to me, will be maybe the exception rather than the rule.
Yeah.
Like, more and more, I feel like if you're going to get a transfer quarterback, you're going to have to sell him on the idea that he probably will start. He'll still have to win the job, but he probably will start. And then your depth is going to have to come from the high school ranks.
Yeah.
That's how I project, and that's kind of what it feels like. Like, even well, actually, I guess this is a bit different than that because he's maybe intimidated by Raiola, but you saw Kyle McCord's moving on from Nebraska.
Yeah.
After some flirtation. But yeah, so like if you go get a transfer guy, I think you're going to have to sell him on the idea that he would start. And then if he goes down, you'll probably have to rely on your backup quarterbacks. Like if you still have a Garrett Nussmeier or somebody in the program like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. And you're going to have like your transfer that you bring in probably every single year. And then the guys that you recruited out of high school, and the guy that you bring in is probably going to have a chance to start. The high school guys are going to be depth pieces. And if you have an injury, I mean, it could alter your season drastically. Like if LSU, let's say LSU doesn't bring in a single soul and Garrett Nussmeier went down in game number 3.
Yeah.
It could completely change whatever you thought of LSU.
But that's the thing, though. That's why you still have to focus on development at high school. Because, again, what is the sales pitch to getting somebody who is entering the portal because they want to play, right? Like they're leaving their original school 99% of the time because they're not playing. And so what are you going to sell them on here? We'll come not play here?
Yeah.
Like it's going to be more fun running 110s in the summer, whatever it is they do nowadays, and then not play? Like, no, that person wants to go play, even if it means going to
You would have to get
a
Dante Moore situation out of UCLA where he's thinking about going to Oregon, where Dylan Gabriel's already committed because he's come out and said, I'm okay if I have to go somewhere where I sit for a year and learn under someone else if it is the right landing spot. And he started games against UCLA or for UCLA.
Well, that's what's so funny about that entire situation. That's such a sign. Isn't that such a sign of like growth and maturity and kind of getting hit with the reality check of college football? Because remember,
this is hard.
Because he was committed to Oregon.
Yeah.
But then Bo Nix shows up. And he's like, well, screw this. I want to play immediately. I'm not going to ride the bench.
Yeah.
And then he goes and throws a few pick sixes, kind of sees, Utah teaches him what big college football is about. And now he's like, you know what? I could maybe use a little seasoning. You could use a little time to get ready. And that speaks that I'd be very excited on Dante Moore then. Because that feels like, okay, that's a guy who is now starting to get it. And when you combine his physical talent with that sort of intellectual maturity, he becomes a pretty exciting prospect.
Yeah, that's certainly somebody. I mean, look, he obviously has multiple years left of eligibility. Now, like your high school recruiting, it's really going well as far as quarterbacks. Like you're going to bring in a top guy this year. You have a chance to bring in the top guy next year. And so you always have to kind of think about that in your thought process when it comes to bringing in guys at certain positions. Certainly the quarterback position, only one gets to play. And when you talk to these coaches, like they are skating that thin ice and that thin line of, I know I need to bring players in at this position, but if I bring this player in at that position, I'm losing my young guy. Yeah. My young guy's gone. He's going in the portal and he's going somewhere else because everybody wants to play now. And you can have conversations with these coaches and they'll tell you, like, unless it's a dire need in the portal, like they're trying to allow some of their young guys to develop because they know those young guys will leave, and then you're left every single year having to build through the portal. Some people want to do that. Some people have to do that. Like, I think Ole Miss is going to be better if they build through the portal. They're never going to compete with the top dogs in the SEC in recruiting in high school, but they can in the portal.
Yeah.
And that's how they're going to build their roster. I mean, Missouri's 30th right now in high school recruiting. Top 10 team in the country playing in the Cotton Bowl against Ohio State. They're 30th. Washington's 31st in high school recruiting. And so, like, even programs like that are successful, they can't do it through high school recruiting alone. And that's with Missouri having the number 2 or 3 overall recruit, depending on what site you're looking at. And they still are 30th.
Yeah.
So they can't do it that way. They have to, they can, obviously they're going to sign 25 guys or whatever number they want to get to the 85 because those rules have changed, but they're going to have to bring in guys through the portal.
Well, there and Colleen, don't get too married to my language choice here, right? But because calling Ole Miss and Mizzou middle class is not accurate, but they're not the biggest of brands, right? And a lot of times, if you're a big-time blue-chip prospect out of high school, you know, you want to go to your Alabama, Georgia, maybe like Oregon's getting in there, USC, whatever the case may be, right? The LSU's definitely in that number as well, the big guys. But what you realize is maybe you get there and you're buried and you don't see a path to the field. And when you get humbled, all of a sudden maybe going to play for Fran at Syracuse starts to make more sense to you, or going to Ole Miss and just going to play makes more sense. And so, yeah, these schools, like, it's not the worst thing because they get a combination of maybe like proven group of 5 players who've already proven to be very good and deserve a shot. To say, like, Andy Staples said this yesterday, and I thought it was a pretty great point. If you're a great coach on the group of 5 level, you get bumped up and you basically get promoted. You get a chance at a bigger level. Okay, same thing should happen with the players. You're a great player at the group 5 level, great. Okay, now you get an opportunity to go to a bigger school. Or if you're Ole Miss, you get, like I said, one of those blue chip guys who's buried on a roster in Alabama. Or maybe you even get a smaller Power 5 guy that's like whatever. The point is, building through the portal is Actually, is it harder or easier than high school recruiting? I mean, I know it's different in a lot of ways. There's more high school recruits to choose from, but you are getting more known quantities.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit of both.
Built through the portal, yeah.
Because you look at through the portal, it's a quick, easy, fast process. It's days. High school recruiting's years. Those relationships are deep. I mean, think about how many coaches that coach for another school, and you had such a good relationship with them when you played them. Like, you went and had like a full conversation with that coach because like you had a relationship with them. I know. I mean, I know I did. I know you did. Like, you just for 2 years you built this relation. Like, Sonny Dykes is somebody that I probably talked to more than anybody in recruiting. That was my first offer, and that's always something like I'll have. And we had so many conversations that when I see him, we have a relationship from when I was recruited. Yeah. You know, and you have stories like that as well. And so, like, that's a long-standing relationship where transfer portal is like speed dating. Like, you don't really get a chance to know that person, and you're going off maybe how attractive they are, and that's it, like your decision-making, and that's not always the best way to go about making a decision. And sometimes you get burned. Coach Saban's told me that. He's like, look, I get a chance to know my high school guys for years, and I know everything about them. I've asked everybody questions about them. In the transfer portal, I've got like days to try to figure out. And he goes, I have a process. And sometimes you can't figure out if they're going to meet that process and fit into that process because it's so fast.
Well, I mean, look no further than the LSU corners from this last year, right?
Yeah.
Denver Harris and Deuce Chestnut. Now, we didn't know much about Deuce Chestnut. We knew Denver Harris was a red flag and LSU knew, but they were banking on maybe the process and the second opportunity helping him to kind of straighten out, and that did not happen. And then even Deuce Chestnut, who, again, I don't remember there being any, this is an all-conference performer. There was no whispers of anything that would be a character concern or whatnot. And to be fair, we still don't really know. Like, that's probably unfair to just lump them in together, because we don't really know what was or was not done or how it all soured so badly. But to Jake's point, Brian Kelly also incredibly process-oriented. And while it really worked out in year one with Fouché, Bernard Converse, Mekhi Gardner, all those other guys, the complete opposite happened in year number 2, where the guys you brought in did not fit the process. And now, but now, like we just talked about, now you're kind of hesitant about bringing another DB in because you kind of like what you saw to Toviano and Stamps, and you think maybe those guys can develop to be the corners you're looking for. And then if you can add through recruiting, you can add some depth there.
Also, I'm pretty sure that Major Burns has another year of eligibility. Now, I don't know. I don't know where that ends up. I don't know if he takes it. I would assume he would because, obviously he's not a guy that would be drafted incredibly high or drafted at all.
Yeah.
And maybe he wants to come back. And he's been a 2-year starter. He'd be a 3rd-year starter. And so, maybe you have a veteran like that. But still, I'd like to see some pieces brought in.
Major can play. I know that it was an up and down year for everybody on defense, right? But when I see that many people that I know can play look a bit helpless, that's why I'm putting the majority on the coaching.
Yeah.
And I know there were personnel limitations. We all know this. But, there are guys that I know are better than how they looked out there, and I would put Major in that category. Someone, hey, he did have that pick 6 against Mizzou. Covered the spread for everybody.
He did, and I think you've seen enough good that you would want him to be back there. As many games he's played, veteran leader, secondary skiing too. Yes.
Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.